Hello everyone, every all. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Nawala man eh. Nawala man siya. Okay, wala ko eh. I walk with the house for 6 months a day. This photos was planned months ahead of time. I just needed to wait until there were enough leaves to make a giant pile. I see my balloons as the most childish immature characters in my collections. The idea of having one jump came to me. For messing up his handwork is just as nice as bones. Ayun na, okay na siya. Pinutol ko kanina kasi wala eh. Nag-iikot lang siya. Parang walang mangyayari. Ewan ko ano nangyari yun. Tapos na-stuck na yung Nabasa lang ako ng book. I shake, don't make a call. Because I'm using my phone. Wala ko ng music ko eh. May copyrights ako yung kagabi. Ayun the other day. It's always fun to think about what's and all about the elements I don't want to show. Going to capture with his defenses down. After mga even if 1 hour, sa-silent ko na to. Manahili ka. Tulog na kasi yung mga tupang tik-tik. Yun, ikaw. Hindi kasi naka-notify. Salamat. Yan na yun. Onika Hope. Onika Hope. Salamat sa patamsa ko dyan. Thank you for dropping by. Wala akong babasa nito. I'm always on the lookout for the unique backdrops from that. One of my local favorites is this abandoned Maka. Wala akong makukuha nito. It's funny thing about mothers and fathers, even their own child is the most disgusting little beast you could ever imagine. They still think that he or she is wonderful. Some parents go further. They become so blinded by adoration, they manage to convince themselves their child has qualities of genius. Well, there's nothing very wrong with all this. It's the way of the world it is. It's only when parents begin telling us about brilliance of their own revolting offspring, we'll start shouting, bring us to reason. Our going to basic school teacher suffers a good deal from having to listen to this sort of twaddle from proud parents, but they usually get their own. Back when their times come to write an end of term reports, if I were a teacher, I would cook up some real scorches of children of doubting parents. You son of your family business, you can push him into a leave school because I'm sure he would give a job anywhere else. We have a feeling radical and pathetic. Am I right? It's excuse to the grasshopper of the hearing organs in the size of the abdomen. The other man is judging whether she's right. Same as she hearing organs at all. But even delve deeper into natural history and say, Trapper Kakikada spent 6 years at the crop underground and by more than 6 days of preparatory in sunlight and air. Your son will spend 6 years at grammar school and we're still waiting for him to image for the carriages and the particularly prisoners that will my girls sing into saying. Hala, tanggal na siya. Na siya. Your son will spend 6 years at grammar school and we're still waiting for him to image for the carriages and the particularly into saying. But unlike the Irish bird, she was unlike the Irish bird, she was supposed to be like that. When a clear dark night when there is no moon, you can see the faint band of cloudy light stretching across the sky. This is the Milky Way, ahead of a view of huge concentration of stars, dust, and gas, which around billions. The Milky Way galaxy is cold, contains 100 billion stars. It is shaped like a flattened disk, the balls of center and nucleus. Great arms retaining by distance and gas clouds in the United Stars. The spiral from the nucleus and one of the spiral. Cool. In the universe, the only life we know exists on planet Earth revolves about the sun. There's only billions of stars in our galaxy alone. Astronomers feel that many of them, as all astronomers cannot see any of these planets that they can exist. Kawat ako. Tuslok. Salamat sa pagtusyo. Kaway. Ate Ann, thank you for dropping in. Salamat sa patamsak dyan. Sige, salamat. Ay, si Ate Ting pala to. Thank you, Ate Ting. Maaga pasik sa atin eh. Yung oras natin early pa. Habol ako. Malaki na yung ano mo. Watch hours. Kunti pa yung oras ko. Kaloka. Uy, may ano pala. May binawian si Lulu. Kanina, si Mukbang Channel. Hindi pa nga nakasahod. Binawi niya. Laki na ng bahay niya. Wow, naman eh. Binablog ni Bobby Hanks Channel. Binawi yung bahay niya. Ay. Ano siya? Lugmok na lugmok. Malaki na yung bahay niya. May tiles na rin. Tapos, tawag nito. Binawi ni Lulu. Ay, kasi dinilit talaga yung channel niya. Okay lang kung bawiin yung monetization mo. Kasi, ano pa yun? Maagapan mo pa yun. Eh, yung bahay niya mismo yung binawi eh. Dinilit. Naglaho yung bahay niya. Kaloka naman yun eh. Wala naman sana bawian ng bahay. Mabawi magbahay. Muro narimata. Lagi kawawa siya. Lungkot na lungkot yung mga close friends niya. Mga kasamahan niya. Salamat sa patambay dyan. At least may tumatao. Hindi, may ano man din ako. Isa lang. Kaya yung net ko dito is baliw. Ikot-ikot lang. Ganun. Pag nagising tong bata namin na, ano ko to, silent. Hindi ko magyuyo. Babasa sana ako ng aklat. Aklat ni ano. Aklat ni Taguro. Ano naman yung babasahin kong libro about universe man to. Kaluka. A bright comet can be a spectacular sight, moving slow against the background stars. It seems to hang in the sky like a ghost. Papanay ka natulog, Inday. Nagalingaw kong live kay natog sila na. Si Connor, sa'yo mga to, pero minapagod to. Papanay ka natulog, Inday. Nagalingaw kong live kay natog sila na. Si Connor, sa'yo mga to, pero minapagod to. Bukod tayo kayo sa amin na yung chismil naman daw ko, no? Saan? Saan? Ate Ann, Ate Bing, salamat sa ano dyan pa, BG. Handa ako sa walang hanggan. Itoon sa akin, di ka sasaktan. Handa ako sa walang hanggan. Aska mo nga aga kong background music kay free to use biya to no si PR. Gigamit na ako. May kay lolo gihagpatan lang niya og pila ka music CPR. Ako tong i-remove ang music ay. Yung LS ko nung isang ano, nung araw yun, isang gabi. Kaluka si lolo eh. Yung nakaraang araw, yung LS ko is 1 hour, more than 1 hour lang siya. Yun pa rin yung music na ginagamit ko. Nag-LS ako yung almost 5 hours. Alaka. Yun na, sinitian na niya. Kaluka si lolo eh. O konti nga lang yung ano ko, live streaming ko. CPR pa. Ay nako, ayaw talaga niya. Eh kasi akala ko okay lang siya. Yun yung ginagamit ko nung dati eh. Eh hindi pala. Ayaw pala niya. Ayun. Ayun. CPR tuloy. Pero pwede ko lang tanggalin yun. I-mute ko lang yung song. I-edit ko. Tapos, mute song. Matanggal din yun. Ayun ay, may kikik, may nagtingog. Kikik, kikik. Di ka sasaktan. Na. May mga kikik man sa labas eh. Ano ba yan? Kaluka si kikik, si kikik. It's a midway between full. Hindi ka pala tulog at din. Tahimik kasi. Yung mga kaluskus ko dinig na dinig. Papasa tayo ng book. Hindi man pumasok si Mr. Rong. Si Mr. Rong hindi pumasok. Babasa na ako ng book eh. Para hindi ako mute. The air around us contains water as an invisible gas called water vapor. The amount of water vapor in the atmosphere determines its humidity. Oh, regions that are very humid, such as tropical rainforests, have a goal to have a lot of water vapor in the air. Deserts, on the other hand, are surrounded by air. Where the water vapor evaporation from the surface of the rivers, lakes, and sea supplies the atmosphere with water vapor. Hot air can hold a lot of more water vapor in the cold air. And at night, when the air cools, it can't carry all it has taken during the daytime. The water vapor condenses from the forms of droplets as a dew falls on the ground every early morning. The spectacular storms are due to intense heating of the ground that transferred heat to the air. Molecules in the air begin to move around. Oh my god, that's it. Very rapidly when the air is heated. The movement causes the air to expand, in doing it becomes mudsliding, rising degree heights and developing towering clouds. With very large drops of water, the cloud is develop negative electrical charges. When the Earth's surface is cold, top positive charges spikes and the lightning are very generated of the difference in electrical charges. And the energy is discharged to shock wave travels through the air. This can be heard as thunder. Oh, that's why. Scandinavia is cold and dark. Night falls mid-afternoon and the sun does not rise until late morning. That's it. Ano ba? Fossilized tree remains can be preserved in old lava flows and survive for over a million years. Volcanoes are the formation of primary rocks on Earth's surface is often accompanied by a huge blast of powerful volcanic eruption. Molten magma shoots to the surface along with a cocktail of ash and harmful gases. The magma is at the surface called lava, solidifies as it runs across the land, and this way the volcano is built up layer by layer and each eruption. Rapid lava can sometimes form the surface of the flowing lava caused from skin. Result molten rock continues to flow beneath. Oh, the cycle of rocks around the globe is driven by the ice, wind, and water. Over millions of years, these agents of erosion causes the land surface to lower by thousands of meters and lead the movements of the Earth crust left and back to the previous height. Glaciers from the ice and pulled by gravity towards the sea, bulvering the rock. Beneath them is the go in eras too warm for glaciers. Waters makes it sea to channel into landscape and regions of research by rocks. All these powerful agents pick up and transport small fragments of rocks as well as soil particles. In some cases, chemical processes dissolve the rock, which can be a sea solution deposited in the sea as sediments of some rock and soil particles will eventually be uplifted to begin the cycle again. Wow. Marbles. Beautifully colored marble is widely used as decorative building stone. It's a metamorphic rock formed from a limestone which has been changed by intense heat and pressure. Sedimentary rocks are called because they are composed of sediments which collect in the basin or geognostic line in the sea floor. Also added to the sediments are the skeletons of marine creatures. sediments from layers which differ according to their composition. Through time, grows gain sediments from the sandstones and fine-grained particles of shales. Ooh. Sedimentary alters as environment changes, and so they become the useful record of past conditions on land. Tectonic movements lift the layer, exposing them to renewed erosion. Oh, Lily. The Earth's oldest rocks are almost 4,000 million years old. The first rock is primary rock, or igneous rocks, formed from cooling magma from the interior of the Earth. Rocks such as granite and basalt are igneous rocks containing many different minerals because they are composed of different combinations of 200 minerals in existence. Their flora and appearance and their existence. Wait. Bakit? Hello sa mga sumisilip-silip dyan. Mud skippers actually, really? Let's see. Are actually, really? Mud skipper. Hello, Miss J. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for dropping in. They feed and mate in a dry land. They have adapted to life both in out of water. Have a very special skin which can absorb oxygen, but only if they keep moist. They move across the muddy plains in mangroves by slowly crawling out with fur. So occasionally they show across the mud, flickering their tails. Wow. Life on Earth is organized into ancient series of food chains and food waves, where food is passed from the organisms and next. All life relies on the organisms to leave the soil and take nitrogen from the air so that it can be used by plants. As they grow, plants basic mineral substances and some sugar or food molecules which nourish plants eating animals called herbivores. Herbivores. Microscopic. It's a microscopic. Soils and mixtures of rock particles from the earth and organic matter from the decayed plants. Near the surface, there is more organic matter, but deeper in the soil, there are only broken fragments of rock. Wow! Trees are able to take up moisture from the soil in a process known transpiration. The moisture also contains nutrients from the soil such as nitrogen in form of nitrates or phosphorus in form of phosphates. The leaves of the plants absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and energy from the sun. The leaves contain chlorophyll. Yeah, chlorophyll is a green substance which gives the green characteristic color and enables them to convert nutrients and carbon dioxide into sugar and oxygen. The oxygen is returned to atmosphere through small pores of leaves called stomata. The sugar solution remains in the plant later to be eaten by animals. The plants die and fall back to the liquid. Liquids go to work preparing for a new source of nutrients. Nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen is the most abundant gas on Earth's atmosphere. Other gases as oxygen, argon, carbon dioxide are also present as a single molecule consisting of two nitrogen atoms. Nitrogen cannot be taken up by plants. To be useful, it has to be fixed. This fixation involves the action of microorganisms or bacteria, which leave the soil. They oxidize the nitrogen to form nitrate, which can be used by plants, and nitrates pass into plants and they're eaten by animals. Those nitrogen atoms are passed around, eventually returning to the atmosphere following the death of animals and plants. I know this. Food, food web. Plants and microorganisms are organized as complex sets of interconnected groups, passing energy in the form of food from one level to the next level. Plants produce the food initially by the process of photosynthesis, and the plants are consumed by the carnivores. Carnivores, such as cows and rabbits, only eat plant. Herbivores are thus consumed by the secondary consumers. The carnivores are meat eaters, many small birds, and secondary consumers as are rodents such as rats. The secondary consumers are eating the tertiary consumer of top kind. Decomposers when the plants die, they fall to the ground and gradually decay. Living organisms and on the surface of the soil spread up process of decomposition. Microscopic organisms include fungi, algae, and bacteria. Larger creatures such as earthworms and termites break up plant remains by eating them. Close to land. The edges of oceans support many plant species. Sheltered muddy coasts house marsh plants in the temperate regions of the world. The mangrove plants in the tropics, the water-level seagrasses providing shelter from the whole range of animals. Large seaweed known as kelp is especially used for sea otter which sleeps. Oh, it's like a seaweed, like a large seaweed known as useful for sea otter which sleeps safe from moving currents using thick band of kelp as its anchor. Hello sa nakatambay dyan. Most of the world is covered by oceans. The two greatest oceans, Atlantic Ocean and Pacific Ocean, cover just 50% between them. The coastlines where the sea and land meet are constantly changing shape as seawater eats into the land. Over long periods, the position to the world's coastlines also changes as level of sea rises and falls. During the last ice age, the large volumes of water were locked up on huge ice sheets, and sea levels was 108 meters lower than the present. Oh. Marine ecosystem. The basis of marine life is found in the phytoplankton, which drift around the sea. These tiny single-celled organisms, no larger than a millimeter across, contain chlorophyll, which enables them to produce vegetables from minerals using energy from the sun. The sea contains vast numbers of phytoplankton consumed by zooplankton, small prawns, jellyfish, large fish, seals, and whales. In turn, consume these tiny creatures. I know. The ocean depths exhibit zones with certain species survive. Most life can found in a region down to 20 meters where sunlight is found. In the middle of the oceanic bases or in the trenches, the water is so deep sunlight cannot penetrate. Various creatures, however, survive in the darkness, including the sea cucumbers. Sea cucumbers is, ano ba yun? Yung bat? Oo, that's why. Mahal kaya yung sea cucumbers pag dried na siya. Kasi paborito yan ng mga Chinese. Exotic, exotic, tawag ito, seafood. Including sea cucumbers. Oh, now I know. Tsunami. Let's see what's tsunami all about. It's unfortunate that tsunamis are also referred to as tidal waves. In fact, tsunamis are generated by earth tremors, known as seismic shocks, and have nothing to do with the gravitational process that produces tides. They contain a huge amount of energy which is frequently discharged over the land when the wave breaks. They can also travel vast distances across open ocean to speed of over the wow, so that's why it really destroyed the whole city if it so happened. Calamitous bear are many are created around the Pacific coast where there is considerable seismic activity beneath the ocean. That's very informative. Boo 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 boo. Caribou. What is caribou? I don't know. That's why I had to read book. It's a geographical. Deadly storms, devastating hurricanes, also known as cyclones or typhoons, occur regularly along the eastern shores of. Mm, Sometimes it happens in the Philippines as well. Water spout. Water spout. It's all about Galapagos Island. Galapagos. Let's read this one. In the permanently wet tropics, dense rainforest vegetation can grow all around the year. The main area of tropical rainforests house a mass of wildlife. Many animals live in the forest floor, which is covered with layers of semi-decomposed and fresh leaves. Bacteria and microorganisms secrete acids from these decompositions and later and allow it to become mixed with surface soil. The minerals supplied in the way to support new plant life. The roof of the forest is a dense off canopy of trees which receives large amounts of sunlight and moisture. Here are some rainforest hardwood trees called. Below the forest become a darker or less sunlight can penetrate. The canopy trees here do not grow to be as tall. There are also epiphytes such as lianas which use rotting trees to support. Nice and sure. Camouflage. Camouflage. It's another continent. How come? It's so different. It's the Philippines. Disappearing. Let's talk about limestone scenery. And the surface of limestone scenery is often marked by pavements of bare rock and little water. As streams disappear the surface to flow underground, it is beneath the surface that limestone scenery is most impressive, with caves, channels, and ornate deposits of salsite. Northern. So cold. It's a large continent. Extreme, extreme. Oil and natural gas are made from hydrocarbons. All organisms contain some hydrocarbons, and as dead organisms accumulate usually at the bed of the sea, the hydrocarbons become concentrated and compressed. Hydrocarbons exist as liquid oil and gases. As they are compressed, both migrate through the pores of permeable rocks such as sandstone, limestone. But if they reach in the impermeable water, such as layer of shell, they cannot continue to move, trap, and they become a valuable source of fuel as many parts of wow. That's why Middle East got a lot of oil supply. That's it. We are more aware than ever of a variety of ways in which human activity threatens certain animal species. For millions of years, animals have been hunted all over the world for food and clothing. Overhunting led to drastic reduction in numbers of species worldwide, including the rhinos. Oh, yeah, it's true. Only about 100 golden lion tamas exist. Large parts of the forest habitat have been burnt down, and many of the tamas were captured to sell pests or to the zoo. The destruction of wildlife habitats for farming industry, housing, and transport also played a major role in bringing the animals close to extinction. As humans alter the environment, animals gradually change to adapt to new conditions. Some build up resistance to poisonous substances. Others learn to eat different foods, while a few simply develop ability to run quickly or use the skills to avoid being killed. Some adapted successfully, but others cannot cope up with the new conditions and species we die out, thus is become extinct in order to save endangered species. Therefore, it's necessary to create conditions they can cope up with. Ooh, danger of dumping. Polar, it's a poem. Mount Everest. Mount Everest is at the eastern end of Himalayas and is the highest mountain in the world, soaring above the clouds. And the height of meters is summit as long as Bengal climbers in an famous explorer. Fairy pets. Julian Mountains, did you know? The hot central Dresden is the African continent. It's finished. Grabe siya, oh. It's the universe. It's the universe. Hello sa mga sumisingit dyan. Kinig lang kayo, nagbabasa lang ako. Kasi maaabot na ako ng more than 1 hour, matutulog na ako. The Earth has more ocean than any other planet in our solar system. The oceans are largely responsible for our climate. They are where life begins and they provide us food and numerous other essential products. The total volume of oceans is about 1,400 million cubic kilometers, but it's not evenly spread over the planet. Most of the southern hemisphere, there are 5 major oceans. The Pacific Ocean, the largest, covering 32% of the globe, in an area of 400 million square kilometers in Northern Ireland put together. It's also the deepest oceans. We're averaging depth of 4,200 meters for plunging all over the kilometers in strange. The Atlantic is only half as big with an area of 80 million square kilometers. It's also showering with a maximum depth of Puerto Rico oil spill, sperm whales. Oil spill, let's read about this. So we'll be educated. Humans marvel at the oceans, feed them, and depend on other food, but they are now polluting and damaging them. Oh, impacts. Safe lang natin siya. It's too little, I cannot read. The atmosphere and the oceans from the single system creates weather, climate, currents, and waves. Oceans water store heat from the sun during the day and in summer, and release it at night and winter. This causes daily variations of land and sea breeze as well as seasonal monsoon cycles. This causes daily variations of land and sea breeze as well as seasonal monsoon cycles. Currents transport heat around the oceans together with oxygen, nutrients, plants, animals, turtles, young and migrating animals. The surface currents of the top 45 meters are produced by winds. The Earth's rotation deflects the water's movement so that it flows at an angle to wind direction. In the northern hemisphere, it flows to the right of the wind, creating clockwise currents in the south, and to the left, creating clockwise currents. The north and south equatorial current flows from the east and west across the oceans in the Atlantic, and northern current flows in the Gulf of Mexico. An upwelling. Ooh. Flows 205 kilometers a day. The luminous conflict is the Garis Jan Cassius. The calm waters at the center are called Sargasso. Many animals such as tortoises travel across the Atlantic in the Gulf Stream, and the South Equatorial Current flows south when it meets the coast of South America. Similar circular currents are found in that's why. Densing sinking water, they are usually much slower than surface currents. The two main masses of cold water in the Windless Sea in the south and sea around Norway and Finland in the north are sink. The cold water flows toward the equator along the bottom, gradually building upward, become a part of the surface of the current. That's why in the weather at the sea is very important, sometimes a matter of life or death. Apart from cyclones, tropical oceans have the lightest winds, particularly in the old drums. In the equator, north south of the equator is the trade winds terminate. They blow from the northeast in the northern hemisphere and from the southeast in the southern hemisphere. On the other side of the world, the roaring portraits of the whistleries are roar around the Southern Ocean and the South America, the Alphadan baby, between Cape Horn and South Shetland Islands, making this among the roughest water in the world. Tropical cyclones from all over the water is warm, moist air rises and generally move westward across the oceans. Tidal range is the difference in height between high and low tides. The largest tidal ranges are found in Bays and Asturias. I thought you wake up now. It's already 11. Antarctica, why is the sea blue? Very nice question. What the heck are you asking like that? As you can see, when the light is shown to the prism, light is made up of array of colors: red, orange, yellow light, and absorbed more quickly than blue light, which can penetrate below 30 meters depth. This is why clean, clear, and mid-ocean water looks blue on sunny days. In coastal and polar waters, the plentiful animals and plant life is as well as sediments feed the rivers absorb more blue lights, giving the water a greenish color. It is why the color of the southern oceans around Africa. That's it, now I know. Is green. Wow. Fear of dangerous oceans, recall black caves asleep, whispered beliefs in sea monsters, strange beings, and supernatural phenomena at the sea. These fears were compounded by the fact that little of the sea had been explored. The apparent strangeness of unfamiliar creatures brought from depths of fishermen fired the imagination of storytellers. Many of the stories of the sea monsters are based on elements of truth. Similar legends of contents, such as Atlantis lost beneath the oceans, may be based on the actual places that were destroyed by real catastrophic events. It's not really that true. Neptune is the king of the ocean. I feel so cold already. The ocean has an average depth of 2.9 kilometers, but there are underwater thousands deeper than the highest mountains on land. Most of the seafloor consists of flat plains and rolling hills, sometimes broken by mountain ranges several kilometers high and volcanic mountains that break the surface of the islands. The complexity of the seafloor is largely explained by the fact that the Earth's crust contains the plates that move over the hot mantle material that lies beneath it. The edges of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans are different from one another. Most of the Atlantic, much of the Indian Ocean has the wide continental slope with many valleys and pronounced continental rise. The Pacific is a mainly narrow continental shelf, kilometers wide, with a steep continental slope dropping to the ocean trench for earthquake often occurs. That's why. Great boundaries exploring the deep craters and vents. Now I know. The continents and the ocean basins are not fixed into position on the earth. Although we cannot feel it, they are constantly moving at speeds of just a few centimeters a year. The way in which the surface of the earth moves has been worked out in the theory of plate tectonics. That's why we have sometimes we will experience earthquakes. The rigid outer layer of the Earth, called the lithosphere, varies in the thickness from the view of 200 kilometers and broken into six mixed plates. The energy produced by the heat in the deep inner part of the Earth makes the plates move over molten inner layer. The outer part of the lithosphere is called crust. The oceanic crust that forms in the bottoms of the ocean's basin is made from basalt. Continental crust is made of granite, and that is less dense than basalt and sits on the top. Oceans form, grow, shrink, or disappear depending on the relative movements of the plates. The Atlantic Ocean, for example, has probably widened 15 meters in last 500 years. Oh my god. Over 98% of seabed is still unexplored, but in the recent years, numerous progress has been made in developing methods for studying the oceans. Research species that play an important role in much can be learned, towing instruments behind ships and collecting samples in the nets, bringing the material from the seabed. Offshore buoys relay information and radio satellites can transmit readings such as temperature, ice cover, wave height back to the Earth. Small maneuverable submersibles are best suited for research and industrial process and needs of the offshore oil industry have stimulated their development. Castuata. That in a submersible. The sea is an ideal environment for plant and animal life. Oh, really? It allows light to penetrate, and there is abundant oxygen and many of the vital chemicals and compounds necessary for life. Its high density enables animals to float, so the largest animals on Earth have been able to live here. Most sea life is found along coasts in the surface waters where there is no more light and food. Pelagic, pelagic, pelagic animals are those that live in the waters itself. They may drift in the ocean currents like plankton or swim like whales. Benthic animals live in the sea bottom or such as corals live attached to the seabed or to the other objects. Otherwise, live buried sediments like worms are more active and hunt for lobsters. Eee, that's why I'm not eating lobster. It was an ancient seas rather than a land that life formed about. One of the earliest forms of life was a microscopic organism similar to plant that made us food using energy from sunlight and hydrogen from water. Its living descendants are known as blue-greens or cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria. Some blue-greens secrete lime and form storage cushions called stomatolites. Stomatolites. So hard to pronounce. Fastest stomatolites are found in many places, and oldest ones, this oldest known life on Earth, are the places called. Ooh. The blue-greens were important because in removing hydrogen from water, they release oxygen. Gradually, the concentration of oxygen in the atmosphere increased, giving us the air on which we now depend. Ooh, ooh, ooh. It's very informative. Oh, I feel very cold now. About 97% of the animals in the world are invertebrates. What's invertebrates? Invertebrates. 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 You read properly, ah. Invertebrates, not invertebrates. You cannot see anymore properly. Uh, invertebrates. These animals are without backbones or internal skeletons. That is invertebrates, not invertebrates, girl. These are animals without backbones or internal skeletons. They include many terrestrial animals such as insects, spiders, but there are also huge variety in the sea. They range in size from tiny animals that float in the plankton of huge giant squids up to 20. Yeah, squid is invertebrate. The main group of marine invertebrates are very different from each other. Sponge, corals, and sea animals are unable to move and live attached to rocks or seabed. Marine worms are much more colorful than marine worms. Is a sea cucumber be considered as marine worm? Let's see. Marine worms are much more colorful than land worms and often have tentacles. Ooh. Or breast. The mollusks are the largest group of includes snail-like animals with single shell. The bivalves. Ay, the umang. This is umang. This is what we called umang. With 2-inch shells. And the octopus, squid, and sea slugs, most of which have most of which have lost their shells. The crustaceans have hard outer of armors. The starfish father stars and sea urchins belong to a group of circular sea urchins. Oh, starship animals. Now I know. I'm so thirsty. I'm already 1 hour. So thirsty. I'm already 1 hour. Fish include some of the ugliest and some of the most beautiful sea creatures. So rude. I drink water first. I cannot stand. My throat is so dry. Fish include some of the ugliest and some of the most beautiful sea creatures. So rude. They range in size, yep, from large sharks to tiny colorful fish, but they generally have the characteristic fin and tail shape that is so well adapted with swimming. Like marine invertebrates, they spend their entire lives underwater and obtain oxygen by passing water through their gills. Drink water first. Really thirsty. My throat is so dry already. Shark rays and scallops have cartilaginous skeletons. Cartilage means it's like a soft bone. I think same like with our nose, it's cartilage. And the skin is covered by tiny rough teeth called denticles. Denticles. Some sharks are unable to keep afloat unless they swim. Many sharks also have to keep constant stream of water passing through their gills or they will drown, so they will spend most of the time swimming. A few are able to pump water through their gills and so really this species can lie on the sea bottom. Most fish of bony skeletons are covered with bony scales. The bony fish have to swim bladder or air sac that allows them to float. Oh, continue girl. Naubos na yung ano ko. Unlike fish, mammals and reptiles have to come to the surface of the sea to breathe air and must come to shore to breathe. Oh, I like the sea lion, I think. Mm. And lay their eggs. Nevertheless, they are well adapted to life underwater and their bodies are designed to conserve oxygen. When diving, heartbeat is slowly from bottom of bits of meat. Mammals have a high body temperature and lose heat from rapidly in water than air. Most marine mammals therefore have special layers of fat called blubber under the skin that provides insulation. Reptiles, which are cold-blooded, must find other ways of keeping their warmth. Marine iguanas bask in sun to warm up before swimming. Marine turtles solve problem by living mainly in tropical seas. The fact that they will have to come ashore to breathe and are very clumsy on land has meant that many marine mammals and reptiles are vulnerable to hunters. Yeah, that's very true. Whales and dolphins are porpoises, a group of mammals called cetaceans. They have streamlined bodies and are once thought to fish. The hind limbs are being lost, where the forelimbs become fins for flippers. They swim by thrusting their tail flukes up and down in the water, and like fish, move their tails from side to side. Pilot whales can reach speed 4 kilometers per hour. Flying back whales can dive so fast. That's why. That's why they're very fast swimmer. My tooth tingling right now. Many animals make long journeys out there every year. Are different stages and sometimes soft dark term take advantage of different sources of food from others such as the gray whale. It's to find suitable places to breed. Some as ocean currents and winds like trolling eels and float buffalo. Winds like kiln. Many incredibly do under their own power, including the many lapses that tramp along the sea bottoms. Various types of navigation systems are called into use. Birds use the sun position to estimate the compass direction. Salmon uses smell to find the river where they were born. Hmm. Have found that they lack sounds and nostrils well. Get lost. Migrating animals were a source of wonder to early naturalists. How eels reproduced so many mystery until the end of the last century because no one ever saw. Yeah, it's so strange, right? I think eel are born through egg. Yeah, I thought it's through egg. See, the reason for the puzzle was that adult eels live in fresh water, but migrate to the sea to breed for many migratory. Mm, live in live in fresh water and then migrate to the sea to breed. That's very strange. That's very strange. Yeah. distinct. It's a very distinct. The ocean margins, coastline that you can see, as well as the continental shelf, continental slope, and the continental rise that they are underwater. The coastline is always changing as some areas were eroded by waves and strong winds. The varied habitats found in the coasts are home to a wide range of plants and animals. Coasts may be sheltered or exposed to wind and waves. They may be stony, sandy, muddy, or cliffs. Coastal habitats also includes coral lagoons, oases, and the ice shelves, where the sand and mud is deposited in a sheltered base, and estuaries, sea grasses, mangroves, and other marine plants can become established. This trap more salt and marsh of mangrove swamp grows out seaward. In tropical countries, mangroves are the main coastal vegetation in colder parts of the world. Marshes are dominated by reeds, rushes, grasses, and other salt-tolerant plants. The shores is zoned with different plants and animals found different levels depending on how well they can cope with the salinity and total immersion. It is seen particularly with all rocky shores, where is another even such characteristic type of periwinkle snail. Periwinkle snail. Animals and plants on the upper shore in the splat zone are basically land species. Those on the middle shore, such as seaweeds, barnacles, and limpets, need a daily immersion of sea water. The lower shore is only uncovered at low spring tide. Most animals can here survive out of water. The mangrove forest, different species are found as you move farther inland, depending on the salinity and the amount of fresh water received from the rivers and the amount of tidal flooding. Ha ha ha. Coral reefs are the richest, most colorful, and varied of all marine habitats. Gee, let's continue. Continue. Kasi naman kulapit na right? Mollusks. These are often difficult to see in the reef because they are well camouflaged, and often nocturnal. Nocturnal are those who are sleeping during night time and then awake during daytime. Nocturnal, like bats. Although awkward to spot, there are actually more species and mollusks than fish. Really, giant clams are exception in that they are easily seen because of their brilliant blue mantles. On the reef, there are also numerous crustaceans such as lobsters and banded cleaner shrimps that obtain food by picking parasites of fish. Such sea urchin are also abundant and graze on small algae. Ay, Diyos ko Lord. Sa mga sumisilip-silip dyan, magkikinig lang kayo. Feel ko kayong magbasa ngayon. Dalawang aklat na yung nabasa ko, natapos ko. Antayin ko lang siguro mag 2 hours. Early explorations of the oceans were largely driven by the need or desire to find new food and wealth. To achieve greater power to spread religion, or out of simple curiosity, our aim was to find better routes, places that were already known. Although these voyages often resulted in discovery of new lands. Hmm, really? Oh, really? The early transoceanic voyages are among the most impressive because of the innumerous difficulties and hardships the explorers and their crews had to face. Ships were cramped, uncomfortable, and unhygienic. There was no way of keeping food fresh. A disease caused by lack of vitamin C was a major problem. Another problem was the navigation instruments were extremely limited. Pollination navigators could only detect land by the color of the sea clouds, presence of birds, or simply the smell. Oh, really? Wala naman ko pag-gets ani. Lahi naman siya. Exploiting the ocean. For centuries, we have used oceans as the source of food and minerals. Yeah, that's very true. And other valuable products as a means of transport. And more recently for leisure and activities. Yeah, that's true. Seaweeds make good fertilizers and a source of substances such for thickness in food. Salt has been extracted from seawater over 400 years already, and many minerals are mined offshore. The seabed is a source of sand and gravel for construction, and some places huge quantities of dead shells are drained and broken up to make. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Humans have gathered food from the sea since prehistoric times, and fish is eaten in much greater quantities than meat, and some rely almost entirely on fish for protein. Over one quarter of the world catch is converted into fish oil, animal feed, and fertilizers. So, used in products such as soap and drugs. The world fishery catch in over 98 million tons of years. The increase of the growing human population and the development of more efficient methods of catching fish. Unfortunately, it was led to exploitation of more than 90% of commercial fisheries. That's very sad story. Since about three-quarters of the world's population lives on the coast of it's not surprising that the oceans are suffering from population and other human activities. That's very true. Unfortunately, people have always thought of oceans as rubbish dumps. Even people living inland and not planes or rivers carry oh man, those waste coastal water each year. Coastal habitats such as marshes are threatened by the building of ports, factories, storage resorts, and other developments. These are the areas where marine planet and animal life is richest. These are the areas where marine planet and animal life is richest. The main forms of populations are seaweeds and industrial waste. That's very true. Chemicals, pesticides, and other industrial products are common pollutants that have been found in. Oh my god, that's why we are always experiencing like what do you call that? Seafood poisoning. These traditional forms of conservation have broken down in many years and many areas, but people are now realizing how important it is to maintain them whenever possible. Pollution and overfishing is in an open ocean. Outside countries, exclusive fishing zones are more difficult problems to deal with. Often nations have to work together to find solutions. Many countries have drawn for treaties and regional conventions with other in which they agree to work together to stop pollution and overfishing. Marine parks and reserves have been set up in numerous countries to protect endangered marine species and vulnerable habitats such as mangroves, coral reefs, swamps, and estuaries. We can all play a part in helping to protect the oceans. We can visit marine parks and reserves, learn about the marine life, and support conservation organizations that are working for saving the sea lies. We can recycle plastics, glass, papers to cut down on waste and avoid buying products that use a lot of energy. When visiting the coast and sea, we can make sure that we do not pollute or damage its precious marine life. That's it. Make sure that we do not pollute or damage its precious marine life. That's it. Ano ka na ako nabasa? Ang dami ko nang nabasa. Ito. Ay, ito tapusin ko na lang itong isa. Tatlo na. Pangatlo na to. Then, i-ano ko na, isa-silent ko na siya. Okay lang yan. The stars have fascinated people for thousands of years. Sky watchers of ancient times identified patterns of stars. Ay, ano na naman ako, ano naman to. tawag nito, ano to book? Universe, the universe, it's about universe book. It's still early 12:20. I read already geography and now oceans. Upload na yung videos. Thank you. Thank you for dropping in. Salamat sa patamsak dyan. Nagbabasa lang ako ng book. nakatapos na ako ng 2 book. Kasi at yung time ko dito ano na siya, 12:30. Iba kasi yung time ko dito. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sa atin, 5 na ata. Gising na yung mga tao. Nasa Pinas ka ba? Sa atin, 5. Kasi 4 hours gap. I don't know if 5. If 12, here 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 o'clock na dyan. Gising na yung mga tao. Ako, matutulog pa ako mamaya. Nasaan na ba ako? The stars have fascinated people for thousands of years. Sky watchers of ancient times identified patterns of stars or constellations. Their name for personalities and creatures from their myths and legends. Some are quite easy to recognize, but others requires a great deal of imagination. One of the constellation that's easiest spot is the Orion. 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 I don't know. It's Orion. 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 The ancient astronomers believed that the stars were attached to a huge sphere that rotated around the Earth once a day. Nowadays, we know that the stars lie at different distances and they don't appear to move around the Earth because the Earth itself is spinning on its own axis. Even so, in order to describe the position of the stars, there's ways and the ways in which they appear and rise and set is the useful imagine that they will fixed to a huge sphere called celestial sphere. The Earth itself spins from west to east by its celestial sphere, who appears to rotate from from the east to west. The sun, the moon, the stars, and the planets rise and set in the west. Sun, moon, and planets will move from more slowly along their own paths against the starry background. Hi. Galaxy na ta. Time, space, and matter all began, so astronomers believe, in one truly momentous event, a hot, dense explosion called Big Bang took place between 10 to 20,000 million years ago. Grabe naman. Before Christ, in the first few months of seconds, the universe expanded incredibly quickly. Many complicated events happened. The first steps in the creation of matter itself are of immense interest to scientists everywhere. Many important experiments are conducted in order to study these events. The field of science known as particle physics. Dito na papasok si atom. Kulad. Ano ba yung pinagagawa mo? Observatories. The telescope is an instrument for seeing magnified images of distant objects, has always been the astronomer's basic tools. Without it, very little could be learned about the mystery of the universe. There are two basic steps. Modern astronomers always intended to be a reflection of the 930 years. Telescopes are housed in large buildings called observatories. Observatories located at the near sea level sit beneath the dense blanket of the atmosphere. Even the Earth's atmosphere is clear of cloud, dust, pollution. Its steady light is distorted as it passes through. Stars twinkle, and their images seen through the high-powered telescopes warp and become blurred. Most large modern observers are on high mountain locators above the densest, cloudest part of the atmosphere. But even their conditions are far from perfect. The ideal place for pit telescope will be in the space or in the surface of the airless. No. Photography plays a very important part in astronomy, and photographic emotion collects light, so the longer the exposure, the fainter the objects can be detected. All the limits of this photography allows us to see stars much fainter than the human eye can make out. The photograph can record thousands, even millions of stars images in one time. Even photographic emotions are not efficient as astronomers would like. They record only the fraction of the light that falls on them. There are no electronic devices that can detect the record of the incoming light. For example, a charge copy device that consists of silicon chip, a centimeter or a cross divided up into 100,000 little squares called pixels. If the image is a faint galaxy is focused on, the electric charges build up that depend on how much light has fallen to each pixel. By recording these charges, pictures of faint galaxies can be built up in the fraction of time and will be needed photography. Electronic cameras also reveal much farther objects than photographs can show. That's very good. This is how to study about galaxy. All the stars are hot globes of gases, but they can have very different properties. In the night sky, some stars appear brighter and other stars appear bright simply because this is very close to us, or faint because it is very far away. The brightest star in the sky is, well, really, I just know. Although it gives us 25 times as much light as the sun, it appears bright mainly because it is one of the nearest stars. Yeah, sun is the nearest star on Earth. There are more powerful stars which emit more, oh really, more powerful than the sun. Emits more light from the sun. And the sun itself, mm, stars of different colors, red stars like Betelgeuse are cool, yellow stars like the sun are hotter. White stars like Vega are hotter. Still, and blooded stars like Alnilam are the hottest of all. Oh, really? Is that the sun? Who's the hottest? Our sun is actually just an ordinary star. Oh, I just know. Our sun is just actually an ordinary star, sometimes called the main sequence star. Red giants, supergiants are called brighter and very much larger. Boom. When the sun and the earth meet Saturn, ooh, at the other end of the scale, white dwarfs are hot, faint stars only about the same size as Earth. Ooh, now I know. Hindi ka kasi nakikinig dati. Nagdi-discuss yung ano mo. Kaloka ka. Nanunuyo na yung lalamunan ko. Tatlong apat na yun naubos ko. Mag 2 hours na ako. Inom muna ako tubig. Na-miss ko kasi magbasa eh. Yung basa na may ano, may hindi silent reading. Talagang basa talaga. Kasi pag lagi tayo nagpo-phone, silent reading lang tayo. So ano muna tayo ngayon. Pero nanunuyo talaga yung lalamunan ko. Sobra. Lamig pa naman ng AC. Hindi ko pa patayin baka magising yung baby. Iiyak hindi ako. Pag iiyak, mag-mute ako. Stars are born with regions inside giant gas clouds collapse on themselves. They become fully fledged stars when their interiors become hot enough for nuclear reactions to take place. This reaction converts part of the star mass into energy. Stars are made of massive. Then the sun become much more brighter and burn up themselves of fuel very rapidly. Really? Or it starts like the sun should live for at least 10 million years. Oh, it's 10 million years. It's incredibly amazing. And start 20 times the sun mass will be last for only 10 million years. Stars like the sun and the days as well white dwarfs which slowly cool down and its time goes by. Stars that and sun's masses will probably explode as supernova scattering debris for the space and leaving behind its little stars. The most massive stars will probably collapse until they become black holes. I know that we are having the asteroids, something like that. Astronomers believe that when this massive star runs out of fuel, it will begin to collapse on itself. As it becomes smaller, the force of the gravity on its surface grows stronger. The star then vanishes from sight but continues to collapse until it's squeezed into an imaginably small point. This point is surrounded by the region of space where gravity is powerful that nothing but even rays of light can escape. This region space called black hole. Many astronomers believe that giant black holes exist at the centers of large number of galaxies. Ganun. Mag 2 hours na ako, magsa-silent na ako. Hayaan ko na lang to.